Yo, Morbius just got shadow dropped. Okay, why? Like, can we? I know for both Venom and Deadpool, there was at least a week to 2 weeks of hyping the character up, doing character deep dives so that we would just get so excited for once the character finally dropped. Yesterday was just like any other old day for me. I was getting ready to go to work. I had a couple hours before work, so I was like, I'm just gonna game this morning. That's what I'm gonna do. Turn on my PS5, and Marvel Midnight Suns is getting an update. My brother's next to me. He's like, oh, yo, did new character drop? I'm like, no, there's no way. So I scroll down a little bit, and it's just like, boom, Morbius has arrived. And I'm just like, what? But why though? Why did Morbius get shadow dropped? And I think the answer is obvious. The movie really did our boy Morbius dirty. And it's a dang shame too, because let me just leave with this. He is so dope in Midnight Suns. He is so cool in every way. In every way, he is so freaking cool in Midnight Suns. And I said this before. I said this in my review of Midnight Suns. I was excited. I am excited for Morbius, and he did not disappoint. He was DLC for Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, and I think in a similar kind of way because the movie was coming out. Maybe at the time when they were planning these DLC characters, they said, oh, movies just came out, let's have Morbius. They're really trying to incorporate Morbius into more games, I think. I mean, maybe it's just a coincidence that Morbius was DLC in Ultimate Alliance 3 and now he's DLC in Midnight Suns, but I don't know. I think the thing that really ruined their whole plan was the fact that the Morbius movie sucked. And because of that, I think they thought that genuinely by trying to hype up Morbius or get attention around Morbius being in Midnight Suns, which already as it is, isn't getting as much love as it deserves. I think the PR team thought that it was going to damage Midnight Suns' reputation more than what it unfortunately already has been damaged. And you all know I freaking love the crap out of this game. So take a game that some people aren't a fan of and add in a paid DLC character, which is $15 worth to buy for only about 2 to 3-ish hours worth of extra content. I could already see them being like, oh, welcoming this garbage new character to this garbage game. I almost didn't even want to say that myself because I love this game so much, and I did really enjoy Morbius. But I think that's why he got shadow dropped. I think that's why the PR team was like, look, we gotta release this character, but let's kind of like low-key release him. You can even check the YouTube channel. The YouTube channel acknowledges well, they don't really acknowledge it, but if you watch the 2 videos that dropped the same day that Morbius got released, at the end of the video, the guy's like, oh, you can, and guess what? Be ready to play as Morbius today. The DLC content got dropped today. So I don't know, man. I think that the way that they went about dropping Morbius into Midnight Suns this was on purpose, you know? I could be wrong, but it's just a guess. I mean, shoot, the top comment on one of the on the Morbius trailer on the Marvel Midnight Suns official YouTube channel is like, it's Morbin time. Directly tied to the meme, directly tied to how horrible the movie was. But anyways, now that we got that whole controversy out of the way, hey, what is up everyone? I'm Norizo, aka Aethel, and welcome to my quick little review on the Morbius DLC for Midnight Sun. So how does he play as a character? Is he better than Deadpool? Is he better than Venom? Okay, visually, I think that they nailed it. I think that there's a really clear distinction when Morbius is hanging out with you in the Abbey than when he's out in combat with you. When he's in combat, his eyes are like fully red and his face just looks a little bit more terrifying and veiny, and he just looks a little more aggressive, like he's ready to fight, which I think is really cool. Then I like the distinction that when he's in the Abbey, his face is a little bit less veiny, it's a little bit more pretty boy vampire, and his eyes aren't fully red, they just have like, you know, red pupils. I like the way that they portrayed him in this game. He's a doctor who carries a lot of resent for the evil actions that he's done in the past, and he's truly just trying to be a good guy. But similar to Venom, it's like, I'm a good person at heart. I've made some mistakes and I'm trying to correct those mistakes and trying to not eat, you know, everyone who I see, because they're just my instinct. I think that the voice acting was great. I think that even when it came to the cutscenes, I really enjoyed all of them. You know, it's hard to say whether I enjoyed them more than Deadpool and Venom, because again, I love those characters, period. But the Morbius cutscenes were about just as enjoyable as those, and you know, it goes along with the rest of the game. It's really nothing too out of this world. Now, how does he actually play as a character? How are his cards? I think I like Venom and Deadpool's deck more than Morbius, because Morbius does have this cool gimmick that all of his cards get boosted by bleeding, but the only way to have his cards apply bleeding is by activating his Bloodlust ability, and the only way to activate that is by using 3 of his cards, similar to Miss Marvel's Going Binary. Once he activates this Bloodlust ability, again, he gains some block, and the moment his block gets depleted, he now no longer is in Bloodlust form. But in this Bloodlust form, all of his cards essentially gain apply bleeding. The reason why this isn't as good as even Miss Marvel's ability of going binary. The moment you use go binary on Miss Marvel, she's instantly super powerful. Like, there's no other gimmicks to it. Boom, she just got a major strength boost. With Morbius, if you don't have any other character like Blade that is already causing these enemies to bleed, you first have to use 3 of his cards, and this is something else that doesn't really help. At their base, without the bleeding bonuses, they're not that strong. They're not that great, if I'm being honest. While with Morbius, boom, everything applies bleed now, but now you have to select an enemy, maybe attack it first to apply bleed. Now you get to use that full effect and attack that same enemy that you applied bleed to. But again, that's extra steps, and that's only one enemy. You have to attack an enemy first, apply bleed to him, and then use another Morbius card using 2 card play. With Miss Marvel, the moment you hit go binary, you don't have to apply any status effect on anyone. She's just boosted.
I am going to play a little bit of devil's advocate on myself here. Applying bleed on all cards is really strong because bleed is a really strong status effect. So the fact that all of Morbius cards get apply bleed is cool too. But then there's also the downside that the moment you run out of block with Morbius, you're screwed. So there's give and take, but I don't know.
One of them is pretty fun. The charm card is pretty fun, where you get to just control any minion and then eventually upgrade it to just control any enemy, which works on bosses and those big enemies with the shields. Like that's pretty cool. They can just charm any of them, and you know, even the guys with the shields, they get out of their shield state and stop protecting whatever's they're protecting, go attack a random enemy, and then, you know, that's pretty cool. But that's just one card. Again, his other cards are okay. He does have a card that helps him gain concealed, which is really good if you're in a really dire situation we're about to lose, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna use concealed just to have Morbius survive and I make sure I don't lose. He has some good cards, but a lot of his attack cards and things that can make him really powerful without the bloodlust ability are okay, but they could be so much better. Venom's a perfect example. Venom doesn't need any, I mean, he already has his really good Ravenous boost, but even without that, his base attack cards are, and all of them are just awesome. Same with Deadpool. While Deadpool does rely on his Enfuego a little bit more, even without the Enfuego, his cards are pretty good. So cards wise, I think it could have been better, but I still think that Morbius overall is super cool and fun to use. I think if I can get used to the whole applying bleed thing, or as long as I pair him up with Blade, which again, I'm not really into like, oh, I need to make sure that if I want Morbius on my team, I put someone else who can apply bleed on characters. I'm not really into that. Something that you could do though is upgrade all of Morbius's cards so that they apply bleed, at least all of his attack cards at base, you know, through like the secondary, the ability modifier. Hope that RNG gods are on your side and you get apply bleed on all of his cards. But again, even that's a pain because it's RNG. You can't get guaranteed that you're gonna get apply bleed onto. So cards wise, fighting wise, I think Morbius's abilities look really cool. He plays really cool, but I think his cards could use a little bit of work. They're not as good as Venom's and Deadpool. So what about the research that you get with him? I actually love the research that you get with him. I've been waiting and hoping that with the DLCs that come out that we just get this like game-changing research and something that adds this whole new mechanic to the game that I just did not see coming. And this did excite me way more than Deadpool's research and Venom's research. I'd say they're definitely weaker in that area for those two DLCs. I'm specifically talking about the laboratory. I really love all the secondary stats that you can level up with each of your individual characters. You know, willpower, fortitude, all those little abilities so that you can each turn that specific individual character can either gain block or gain health. I think that's super cool. But with the laboratory, it gives you another opportunity for you to choose specific characters that you want to train up and increase those secondary stats. Now here's a caveat. Caveat. Whatever you choose to upgrade, you're gonna have to downgrade something at the same time. So it's kind of like an exchange. Now at first you get some commons and rare upgrades like, oh, plus 10 fortitude, minus 10 resistance. And then again, that's okay. It makes you kind of really pick and choose and plan what characters you want to upgrade in what way. Or if you have a character that already has 0 resistance or 0 resilience and you want to give him plus 10 fortitude, boom, go ahead and use it there. When it really gets intense is when once you've maxed out the laboratory and fully upgraded it, when it says like plus 50 willpower and minus 50 critical hit chance. That's a lot harder to choose, and it really makes you wonder like, wow, 50 points, that's a lot. Considering each time you get a paragon level for friendship with a character, they only get plus 10 to whatever secondary stat. Getting plus 50 is a lot. I also really rely a lot on using the yard to train up the characters there and spar with them for those secondary stats. So this is great to help boost up those secondary stats. I'm glad that it has that little caveat where like so one stat has to go down for another one to go up. Because if I could just boost up the stats, like I think that would be a little bit overpowered, and I think I kind of like that. It makes me have to pick and choose, like, and be strategic about what characters I want to give what boosts to. Well, that's gonna do it, everyone. Again, it is such a dang shame that this game isn't getting all the love that it deserves. Really, really hoping that in the next couple years we could get a sequel. I'm not gonna say that we're not ever gonna get a sequel to this kind of game. There's still a chance. There's always a chance. I've seen crazier things happen in this world. I was just hoping that the game would do so well that we would be guaranteed a sequel. But what it's looking like is it has a cult following, and those people who love this game love this game, and then those people who just aren't into it, and that's just kind of it. But hey, at least I'm glad that they're putting some effort into the DLC. Anyways, that's gonna do it for my thoughts on the Morbius DLC for Midnight Suns. Again, I still love this game, and I hope that, you know, at some point this game just gets totally showered with love and praise, and people recognize that it's a game that people are sleeping on. But everyone, thank you all so much for watching this video. If you did enjoy the video, you know what to do. Drop a like, leave a comment. Don't forget to subscribe to join the Wolfpack family. And thank you all so much for watching, Wolfpack. I love you all, and I will see you all next time. Peace.